There was a poem that was popular in 17th century London that went something like, "The lion and the unicorn fought for the crown. The lion beat the unicorn all around town." Now that poem neatly kind of summarises about 100 years of British politics. Certainly when I came across it, it was very useful to me for understanding what was happening at the time. I'm going to try and show you what I mean. Between 1642 and 1649 there were the civil wars that led to the dictatorship of Oliver Cromwell up until 1660. This was after he killed King Charles I, of course, and he was replaced by King Charles I's son, King Charles II. Not long after there was the Great Plague. Not long after that, the Great Fire. And to finish off an eventful couple of years, in 1688, the Glorious Revolution. So what was going on? There was an awful lot going on, so why was it happening? It seems that there was a rivalry between two factions for control of the country. Political parties we'd nowadays call Tories and Whigs, but at the time those terms weren't in use. The Tories tended to be landowners and favoured the divine rights form of government, like God is over his creation, so the king is over his government. The Whigs, on the other hand, were more invested in trade and the city. They hoped to build a trading empire broadly based on the Venetian model, and as history proves, they won out. They were the lions that beat the unicorns of the Stuart monarchy. The century after 1688 was dominated by the Whigs. For all but a very few years they were in government, and they used this control to start building the British Empire, which famously began to expand all over the world. This, you could say, the empire is part of the Whig legacy. So is what came after it. What we affectionately know nowadays as international capitalism is really part of the Whig legacy too. And this legacy is really commemorated, or the victory, I'd say, is commemorated in the poem "The Lion Beat the Unicorn All the Way Around Town." The unicorns of the Stuart monarchy were consigned to the dustbin of history. They never produced another king. They were effectively chased off the throne by the vested interests of the City of London. So this was not a good versus evil battle. This was a battle for control of the country by two sets of vested interests. The results of the initial rivalry between the lion and the unicorn, what I suggest, were the causes of the civil wars and many other of the more interesting events of the late 17th century. For me, that poem really neatly summarises what was going on at that time and all those things we weren't taught at school.